All right, guys, it is that time. It is 9 p.m. on this fine Wednesday evening. Welcome, everybody, to the show. This is the U.S. Rugby Happy Hour Live. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Happy Hour Live brings you interviews with some of the biggest names in the U.S. rugby scene. And tonight we have two great guests. We'll get into that in a couple of minutes. If you are listening live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube, you can leave comments or questions in those chats, or just join us over here on the Twitter Spaces, on Twitter Spaces, on the mobile app. It doesn't work as well on the browser. Apparently, it is. You can actually talk from the browser, but I've heard some interesting things about that. So, safe bet is get on your phone, get on the Twitter app, and join us. You can also ask your own questions of our guests directly live tonight. If you are not already following us, please do so at Eagles Overseas and Rugby Morning to get updates on future shows and news about USA Rugby, Major League Rugby, and much, much more. I'm Bill Baker of Eagles Overseas, and freshly off his, MLR draft mind and so much into that thing is Rugby Morning's John Fitzpatrick. Hey, Fitzy.
Hey, Bill, how's it going? And I don't know if you know this, Bill, but I mean, unless you live underneath a rock, it's no longer Twitter, man. It's X. Okay.
Yeah,
right.
I can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm waiting. Like I said earlier, I'm waiting for that cease and desist order from Elon. So when that happens, it'll be X. Have you changed all your stuff? Are you like going online and changing your profiles to X, not Twitter?
No.
No.
There's too much time involved for that. I barely know my password for most of this stuff, so the heck with it.
Yeah, and you have young kids too. It's not like you're at like t-ball practice. You're like, hold on, guys, I gotta change my name to X.
Actually, I've done that. So
well, yeah, I did. I was at dinner with my wife last night. I'm like, hold on a second, I forgot I need to post about tonight's show. No, all good. Hey, Fitzy. By the way, welcome back, man. How are the Western Kentucky mountains?
West Virginia.
Oh,
I was in West Virginia. Yeah.
That's so different.
Well, not that different. Appalachia, man. It's if you've never been, it's gorgeous there. There's a reason why it's called Wild and Wonderful West Virginia. The camping was great.
Nice.
We were out swimming holes, hiking. I drank a lot of beers. It was great.
Oh,
it was as you do, vacation.
As you do, yes. Yeah. Yeah, I remember reaching out to you a couple of times. Like a couple of weeks ago, we had a show, and I did it without you. I apologize, but it was a decent show. Part of me thought you would tune in at least a little bit from the top of a mountain. Like I can picture you up there, like I don't know, like Stranger Things with a phone on top of a hill trying to get signal in the underworld. Like I can get in the show.
Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi signal on my banjo wasn't coming in, so I couldn't do it.
Well, I'll forgive you, man. During that time, by the way, I went to a Sox game at Fenway Park. I watched my daughter play soccer in Italy. Well, actually, I wasn't in Italy. I watched it online. I went camping in New Hampshire. I drank way too many beers at a brew fest in New Hampshire as well. Summer stuff. Good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great.
And I'm going to be back in New Hampshire again this Saturday at a New England Free Jacks championship kind of tour and player development program at Keene State College, where oddly enough, both my daughters go to college. So if anyone's listening in tonight and they're in the area, coming out, check it out. Free Jacks are at Keene State College, and I'll be there. And I'll sign autographs. Is that a thing? I don't know. Maybe not. Might get thrown out because I think I probably owe money on books when I went to Keene State years ago. But yeah, Fitzy, good to have you back, man. It's a blast. I'm really looking forward to tonight. We got two great guests. Chris. Jesus Christ, I can't talk right now. But two great guests tonight, and you know what? Honestly, I think we get to the first one right now because I think he's got a wealth of new knowledge and old knowledge that I think he'll be great for our listeners to enjoy. Right before we get to that, though, really quick, listeners, for you guys listening right now, if you're streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, you can leave a comment there on those sites in the comments. We'll try to ask it, or if you want to ask a question live or a guest or myself and Fitzy, join us on the app on your phone on Twitter Spaces, and you can ask the question yourself. It's kind of like a radio call-in show, if anyone knows what radio is anymore. It's really cool, and I think Fitzy and I kind of pat ourselves in the back kind of thing. It's like, listen, this is unique. I mean, there's really no other rugby show that does this on a regular basis like we do in the United States, to give you this access to guys like our guest tonight. So enough bandering about how awesome we are. Let's get right into our first guest. I mean, this guy again, not only fresh off the USA European Tour, but also earning his first Eagle number, his first cap, number 564. Let's give a warm welcome to Chris Mattina. I'm probably saying that wrong, Chris. I apologize.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm Mattina. Yeah.
Mattina, yes, I
Yeah.
knew that.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So welcome back from Europe. Still a bit jet lagged, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit. Just kind of getting my feet back in New York. But it was quite a travel day for us coming back from Georgia. Not too many straight flights from there, so
No, probably not.
still finding the feet for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And again, congrats on earning that first cap or three now. Coming off the bench in the lone tour win against Romania. So let's get into it. Talk about that moment for you personally, how important and or how proud you were to pull on that USA jersey.
Yeah, no, it was a massive thing for me, and it's something that I've been looking forward to and striving for, and really working hard for a very long time. And I think it took a little bit longer than I expected after I left the sevens program, but yeah, it was just a lot of perseverance and a lot of hard work and a lot of learnings to get there. So just to step on that field and represent the U.S., something that I've been waiting to do for a long time. So it was extremely special, and I just took it all in that Romania game, and it was great to get your first cap and a really big win for us in this new era of USA Rugby.
Yeah, I know a couple of players had their family able to join. Were you able to have any family join the trip?
No, unfortunately not. They were watching from home, but I think they've supported me so much throughout this, and it would have been great to have them there. But once again, Romania is not the easiest place to get to in the middle of a European summer. So, they were enjoying it from home, and they're really proud of me. So it was great to just have them, supporting from afar.
Yeah, and you mentioned USA Sevens earlier, and we're going to get into that more later in this half an hour. But you've been competing at a high level for a number of years now. It's starting with the University of Delaware, MLR with a few teams, sevens again. What was the shock like for you at the international level? Was it what you expected? Faster, more physical, etc.
For 15s or for sevens?
Oh, 15, sorry.
I think it was. I think it's. I think the biggest difference, obviously, it's a bit faster. It's a bit more physical, and I think just what it means. I think to everyone out there, like it's just you get the best out of everyone, and everyone's kind of giving it everything. Whereas MLR is a long season, a lot of different guys, a lot of guys playing for different things, and I think when you go up at the international level, I think it's just like everyone's there to represent, their country, and on that international stage, there's a lot more riding on that. So I think the pressures and the speed and the physicality, and everyone's really giving it their all. So, I think that's probably the biggest shift in my mind in terms of being there, and it's super cool, and it's just an awesome environment to be in, and it's just really special.
Chris, when you returned home this week, what was one of the what was one of the first things you maybe told your friends or family about the tour? Or was there a highlight that stood out to you, or a moment that stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me the biggest thing was individually was the Georgia game. Like I think it was my first start at fullback, and I think Georgia also. I didn't know what to expect to go there as a country, and I think I was quite surprised with how great it was and how beautiful it was, and we really enjoyed our time there. And they have such a great setup, and like they're building something really special there, and the government's put in so much money to rugby, and these guys are full-time guys that are playing in Pro D2, top 14, and they have a pro team set up there and a 25,000 person stadium dedicated for rugby. So I think just Georgia was very surprising for me, and I think it just kind of wrapped up the trip for me really well. And to play and start in that game was a goal of mine going to this tour. So I think that's something that I'll remember and kind of take with me for a while.
Oh, that's great. And speaking of Georgia, you talked a little bit about kind of getting out maybe a little bit. Was there a particular food dish that you tried that surprised you? You were like, huh, that was good. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, they had a great assortment of like their meat selection's really good. So chicken, and they had these dumplings called kinkali, which were kind of a soup dumpling, which we really enjoyed. And it's great that they, take us out for dinner once a week and kind of let us have a local, some local food, which I really enjoy. That part of tours, kind of getting amongst the locals and figuring out what, the country's like and what do people do there. So, I think that part's really special, especially in rugby when you can travel around all these cool places. So, yeah, I'd say the dumplings, the kinkali were really good. And, yeah, we enjoyed it. We enjoyed Georgia for sure.
Yeah, I mean, no wonder their props are so big. They've probably been eating so many of those kinkalis or whatever.
They definitely know how to eat there. That's for sure. They love their food and they take great pride in it. So yeah, you can see why some of their forwards are absolutely massive.
I wanted to go back and hit on a point that you brought up. Bill asked the question. You talked a little bit about kind of like perseverance in your journey to the 15s program. Last year you were in that mix, right, for the pool. Unfortunately, missed out on making the senior 15 squad. But I guess thinking back on it, how did you react to that? Was it for you like a time to maybe take a step back, or were you like, nope, full bore? I really want to try and make the squad for this year. Walk us through that.
Yeah, it was probably the toughest, one of the toughest moments because I was on the bench versus Portugal, and I was on that tour the whole time, and Portugal would have been my first cap, and ended up not getting on the field. So, and we tied and missed out on the World Cup. So, like, it was just a very shocking. You expect it to go the right way, and it could have been the best day, of my life in terms of getting on the field and qualifying for a World Cup, and it just didn't happen. So I think it was just a pure shock, and I think at that point I was like, "There's no way that I'm ending like this. There's no way that I'm gonna step back from this. There's no way that I've come this far and I don't get a cap." So, I think from then on it was just like I need to get this done and I need to do this, whatever it is. Like I'm not going to end with this bad taste in my mouth. So it was kind of full bore ahead, and kind of took that into the Chicago season and kind of ran with it from there. So yeah, it was pretty crazy, pretty wild journey, but yeah, really, really delighted and happy with this past tour.
So, listeners, if you're here live on the Twitter app on your mobile device, coming up, ask a question. You could do so by requesting on the bottom left, and get you up here as soon as possible. Ask a question of our guests right now. If you're listening live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, I am having difficulties with LinkedIn, which is no surprise. You can all go ahead and leave a message in those chats, and I'll keep an eye on it and get your question online as well. So, Chris, let's talk about coaching. Let's talk about Scott Lawrence. We've had him on the show a few weeks ago, right before the tour started. He mentioned playing 0G rugby. Talk about that. What does that mean? How do you define 0G rugby?
Yeah, I think what we're trying to build is kind of a high flying attack and high flying defense. And I think it's in 0G, we talk about it. It's really involved around just being instinctual, playing what's in front of us, trying to attack space, being fit enough to do those things and play an exciting brand of rugby that is winning rugby, and that we can sustain that level for a long period of time. And I think, like that's the way that we want to do it, and I think that's the way teams around the world are starting to kind of revert to. And it's just really all about fitness and playing what's in front of us and being skilled enough to pull things off and being brave to do that. So I think we've all kind of taken that mantra and kind of put it into our own games. And you saw glimpses of it, I think, in this tour, but I think there's going to be, it's a massive growth for us. And I think, as we keep learning as a group and keep working on it and kind of learning from these games, I think you'll just see us get better and better at finding that 0G and, living and breathing it as we move forward.
And I love that mantra, that idea of coaching 0G. And I feel like, at least from my perspective, is still, as the second halves went on in those matches, it seemed like the team lost energy, let's say, or lost footing. Am I wrong saying that? Or is this still something that the program's still working on? 0G will get there eventually. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, and international footy is a bit, it's definitely different, and
Yeah.
it's definitely takes, um, a lot higher levels of fitness. It takes, very deep bench. It takes a lot of different things, and we were going up against teams that are going to the World Cup, so these guys have been in camp for months on end, and they've been ready to go. And it's not an excuse, but you definitely saw us, kind of trying to figure out how we wanted to play, what we wanted to do, and we put so much energy into it that I think probably in the second half of a few of the games we definitely have been just going as hard as we could. So
Right.
I think it's definitely learning. We got a lot of young players that are still finding their feet. So I think just as we grow and as we get better, you'll see us start to finish games and play it for full 80 instead of about 40 to 60.
Hmm.
Chris, I want to switch gears a little bit. Talk. You mentioned some of the newer Eagles. I think there were 9, maybe 10 Eagles that earned their cap for the first time. You included on the tour, which is great. But I want to talk about how obviously you've played alongside your Chicago Hounds teammate there, fly half Luke Carty.
Mm-hmm.
Was there a familiarity or maybe a comfort there since you guys had played a full season together in MLR?
Yeah, absolutely. I think probably the most underrated thing about rugby and coming together as a team is like having time together. So, I know what makes him tick. I know, his movements, what he's going to do, his kicking style, what he likes, how to communicate with him. So it's a lot of different things that takes a very long time to build trust in. And I think that Chicago season really kind of brought us together, and we played a lot together. So yeah, absolutely. In terms of that, and I think you could kind of see that on the field, that we were working quite well together in the backfield, and little things that you really can't do without time together.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Now this next player, there's rumors that he's eventually going to be announced as a Chicago teammate of yours. That's scrum half Nick McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he played pretty well. Talk a little bit about kind of showed the benefits right of his years playing with Leinster, but maybe talk a little bit about the impact that he made on the team, because relatively new name for say your average like USA Rugby fan.
Yeah. No, he's been incredible. His wealth of experience from one of the best teams in the world just showed, and I think he'll become even better and even more comfortable as he gets his footing, and the more caps he gets, he'll become more of a leader. And he was thrust right into that position since he got here, and he's only been here for about 5 weeks. So um, he's an incredible player. He's got a great kick. He's got a great pass. He's fit. He's world class. He's got a world class pass. So and kick. So we loved him. We're very lucky that he's come over, and he was a great asset for us. And I'm just looking forward to seeing him grow into that position, kind of be that leader for us that we need. But you could see it right away that he's next level, and he can see the game differently.
Speaking of teammates, Chris, one of our listeners on Facebook Live asked, were there any particular teammates who took you under your wing during this tour? Perhaps in like a mentorship kind of way.
Who took me into the wing, or I
was there
took
somebody
under
that kind of exactly? Was there
Yeah.
somebody that you took as a mentorship that actually
Yeah.
helped you out?
I think this tour, I was almost the one that was being a bit more of the mentor,
Yeah,
just since I'm a bit older, and even though it was my first cap, I'm probably
you've
older
been
than
around. Yeah,
half the guys in the back line. But I think somebody that I probably can speak from the last tour, and I was played with him last year as well, was Marcel Brocky,
mm-hmm.
Brocky,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, he was just incredible in terms of his work ethic and how he spoke to the group, and just his skill as a fullback, but also at 13. Um, he took me under his wing in Austin. He took me under his wing when I was with the U.S.
Right.
last summer, and we talk quite frequently, even since he's kind of retired from international rugby. But yeah, he was just a guy that I really looked up to, and I think pretty similar in terms of how we are as people as well. So, just learning from him has been really special, and he's a massive guy of experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just learning from him has been awesome.
Yeah, Marcy's been on the show a couple of times, and just interviewed him a number of times when he was down with Western Forest in the United States, and I ran into him after the game in Chicago, the MLR championship, and just even after defeat, such a humble guy who loves supporting the game and talking about the game. So such a great guy to have on that side. And honestly, I miss him out there. I probably won't see him again in the USA uniform, but that's sad for me. Sad for guys like you and everyone else. So, there's a question we usually save to the end. I usually give this to Fitzy because he loves the fun questions. But I got to ask you now. I mean, this short tour of yours, and you've been on the tours with USA Sevens and such, but at least with this group, any funny stories you can share with us about your teammates? I mean, come on, you can go for it. We've had again a number of players come on and share who snores the most, who walks around naked in hotel rooms, who eats the most fried brains, monkey land sauce, whatever down inside. Anything, some stuff we can't repeat right now because it's a family show. Anything you can share with us?
We had a pretty good find. Sam Gala had to do a TikTok, a Romanian poolside TikTok, which was pretty funny. And he had some good dance moves in his budgie smugglers by the pool in Romania. So
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, well, it's hidden away in the secret group chat, so you'll have to ask him for it if he comes on the show.
He's been on,
but that was a good one. Yeah. Well, if anything else comes to mind, I'll bring it up before I'm out of here.
Appreciate it.
Well, Chris, switching gears a little bit, kind of jumping back to MLR, and I want to go back to the Austin Gill Groanies. I want to be careful about this, right? Because I know there's the Austin season, right, in 2022, disappointing the way it ended, right? The Gilgronis, that team was primed for a championship run, and not to really cover anything specific there about that situation, but what was kind of the general mood of the players when the news broke about the team essentially being dismantled or the season suspended for you guys?
Yeah, it was pretty dark. It was very dark, to be honest, and we were all in shock. We were all in a hotel room in Houston before the SaberCats game, our last regular season game, just sitting in a room trying to figure out what the heck we were going to do. Like whether we wanted to play the game, what was happening. But yeah, it was definitely one of the more shocking things that's happened to me. I've had quite a few different rugby scenarios that have been very strange, but that one was probably one of the weirder ones. But yeah, it was really just like a rug got pulled out from underneath us. We were riding pretty high. We were looking forward to the playoffs. We felt like we had a group that could go all the way, and to kind of just get it pulled away without, really any defense or any transparency, we kind of felt like we were kind of done wrong. So yeah, it wasn't great. But yeah, I think I'll kind of just leave it at that. But yeah, I think the guys were really disappointed, and I think even bringing it into the next season, like a lot of guys kind of hadn't gotten over it. So, I think that's something that a lot of the guys will remember for a while. But yeah, it's a tough one, but it was a really shitty situation on every side. So, it's hard to really put blame on anybody. But yeah, it was definitely tough.
Yeah. And then the move to Chicago for you, right? With you got a number of your former Austin players and coaches, making the trip up to Chicago to join the franchise there. Was it a tough transition? New city. I mean, the first half of the season, you guys were playing basically in the winter.
Yeah, it was very cold. Yeah, it was very cold. But to be honest, I really love Chicago. I probably couldn't have moved to a better city. Yeah, like it was surprising. It wasn't really surprising, but I was just it felt like home, because I'm from New York City, and, it felt like, a good northeastern city, which, I'm very used to. So, the facilities were great. They did a great job with doing what they could with like 2 months to put a team together. So, we were lucky that they got that, and the setup was incredible. The city was really great. The fans were awesome as well. So hats off to them for getting that done so quickly. And yeah, it was the transition. I think it was really more so like the timing of everything. Like we were in Dubai when we're figuring out, when we're getting drafted to a different team, and it's the middle of November, and that's like a month until we have to figure out if to move to Chicago. So I think that part was really difficult because it was just kind of such a whirlwind. But we kind of landed on our feet there, and it kind of worked out really well in terms of just getting a season done and finding a team and all that stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit. There were some memorable moments for the Hounds. Certainly, that first win, franchise history. I believe that was a bitterly cold night in Chicago. I think was that the day after St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, it was the Sunday.
Yeah, you kicked the game-winning penalty in the 77th minute against Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
What were you thinking, kind of in the moment, as you started to kind of line up that kick and knowing that how big of a moment it was?
I think I've learned in these moments that it's really just about sticking to your process. I think I've got, with my age and my experience, I think the more you don't think about anything else, the more you think about, all right, I just need to do this correctly, because then good things will happen. And the more you focus on your process, the more you're going to do it correctly, the better the outcome is going to be. So you can't really be distracted with the moment or distracted with the score or anything like that. And it's kind of, yeah, and that's kind of what it was. And it was also just like, I just need to make this thing because we need to win this game. We're not going to lose the first game to Dallas. We're not going to give Dallas their first win in a year and a half or whatever. So
Yeah.
it was kind of just like, we need this.
Yeah, and then sure enough, a few months later, you had another pressure-packed kick when you converted. I believe it was a Julian Dominguez try in the 82nd minute to seal the win and end the Utah Warriors' playoff hopes there. I guess similar question, but do you like being the guy that takes those do or die kicks?
Yeah, I think it's something that you don't really. Well, I guess I didn't really think that I would be the guy, but now that it's kind of happened, I think if you asked me this question like 3 or 4 years ago, I probably would have been scared as hell. But I think as I've grown and as I've gotten more confident, in my process and in my kicking, that now that I've done it a few times, it's like, okay, I can do this, and now I feel like I have the confidence to step up and take a kick from anywhere. So, it comes with experience, it comes with failures, and a lot of different things. So you kind of just have to learn from it and then find out what works for you and to keep your head in those moments.
Let's jump back quite a bit. Okay, we got you for a couple more minutes, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go back to Manhattan high school rugby. You were at a school that produced some really good rugby players. Yourself, especially. Mike Petrie. What was the model there at Xavier High School that's really produced a lot of really good talented players?
I think it all came down to the coaching and just the culture that they made, and all of us wanted to play together and kind of create this. They created this environment that was such a high level that we're competing for national championships. Everyone wants to be a part of it. The coaching's really good. You got 100 kids playing rugby on the weekends with 4 different teams. So yeah, just the competitiveness of it, but the coaching just made you want to improve and just get better and like win, and it was just such a great culture there. And Mike Tolkien was the head coach, and you had many great players that came before you that you looked up to, like Seamus Kelly and Mike Petrie and all these Eagles. So just created a culture that you wanted to be the best you could be. And Mike Tolkien obviously was a massive driver of that for me, and he was my coach for all 3-4 years that I played on varsity. So yeah, I was lucky to get coached by probably one of the best American coaches in the country. So
and are you still coaching at all? Because I saw St. Rita High School Rugby Football Club commented on one of our posts yesterday about being the coach. Are you coaching?
Yeah, so I kind of helped St. Rita's out there starting a program in Chicago. So I do coaching. I started my little academy called CM Rugby Academy. So I
Nice.
do small group coaching. I do teams. I've worked with Fordham. I've worked with Xavier. I've worked with a lot of different clubs, and then I do small group coaching. So high school, college, anyone who wants to get better and work on their skill and fitness and speed. That I've been working with them. So yeah, it's kind of taken a little bit of a step back as I've been
Mm-hmm.
pretty busy with playing and
Mm-hmm.
traveling and being in Chicago and being in Austin. But when I'm home in New York, I'm training kids and training a lot of guys from Xavier, from Connecticut, and wherever. Just to yeah, so I love it, and it's a way to give back to the game. And I have so much knowledge
Yeah.
about it that I just want to give back to the American players, and just kind of create something here that could be special. So that'll be definitely something I'm doing post.
Well, Chris Mattina, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I mean, this last 25 minutes has been great. Love what you saw over in Europe. We really hope to see you in that USA more and more coming up, and also wish success with Chicago in the next multiple seasons.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, man. Again, no real tough questions. I mean, we scared you at first, right?
No, they were easy. They weren't too bad. It was good. It
Nice.
was good. Very seamless.
Very seamless. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Cheers. All right. With that said, I think we jump right into our next guest. He is sitting there waiting, listening out. He was listening to Chris, trying to get some notes. I'm sure he's writing down some notes, right? Our
Of course.
next guest. Yeah, of course he is. He's no stranger to two things. Okay, no stranger to this show, and no stranger to Olympics. Okay, he's only competed in only one Olympics, but he's been on this show 2 times as of today. Well, yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty impressive too. Anyway, let's go on. Scuba Steven Tomasin, how are you, buddy?
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for giving us your time. I know. Same thing, man. You're probably a little bit jet lagged as well, right?
I mean, no, we're just up in Vancouver. It's a cool 2.5 hours from San Diego, so not too bad.
You can almost drive that. Don't do that.
We're in like 30 hours.
We're past that. All right.
Yeah,
First of
not a
all,
chance.
yeah. Second of all, actually, congratulations on the team earning a spot in the 2024 Paris Olympics. Well deserved.
Much appreciated. Yeah, it's a relief in a lot of
Yeah.
ways. It's a lot of stress and a lot that goes into a qualification process like this.
Yeah, and like you said, stressful. I mean, you've been involved in the sevens program for a while now. You know, a very impressive veteran of the game, if you don't mind me saying. However, like you said, it wasn't easy this time as the first time in 2020 or 2021 Tokyo Olympics, but COVID did a number on not only the players but the coaches' efforts to recruit. I mean, can you share a bit of the struggles the team has had getting to this point?
Yeah, there's a lot packed into that answer.
That was a big sigh.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was trying to think about where even to start. COVID was a pretty unfortunate thing for us because we came off that season where we finished second, and we were getting healthy again and really looking forward to carrying our form into the Olympics. And I don't want to talk about the Olympic quarterfinal because it's pretty dark, but
right.
We had a great chance to do something special there and didn't. And then, after that, obviously we had a lot of changeover in the team. I think, from that Olympic team, me, Joe, Perry, Kayvon, and Cody Melfi were the only ones left. And I could be slightly off there, but I think that was what it was. So a lot of change in leadership, a lot of change in personnel, and we brought in a lot of young guys that, like you said, the pathways kind of got torn apart when COVID happened as well. So we weren't able to bring these guys in for camps for 18 months when they definitely would have been a part of things. And it took us some time to gel together, to bring the new guys up to speed. We're still improving massively, and we started off this last season about as well as we could have, going into the going into the fourth tournament of the year. We were sitting in second or third, and then we kind of fell off the wagon a little bit, and for a lot of these guys, the younger guys, it was their first full season on the World Series, and 11 tournament season at that. And so what I think people don't quite understand about the 7 series is, yeah, we get to go to these incredible places and play in front of incredible crowds, but the traveling part of it does get to be exhausting by the end. We're living in hotel rooms between 80 and 100 days out of the year, and
wow.
we're gone for 17 days, and then home for 20, and then gone for 17, home for less than a month. And by the end of the season, it does get tough to want to leave again, especially if you have loved ones and things that you're taking care of at home. So I think that it was since it was their first time experiencing a lot of that as well, they understand now just how hard the World Series is outside of the games themselves. And I'm super proud of the boys for pulling through and qualifying the way we did. I mean, we had a really, really, really good summer, and I can't say enough about everybody in the system, in our world, that put the effort in to get us over the line. I mean, the best work we did this summer, really, we did. I mean, our coaches had us prepared physically, tactically, and technically. We were getting a lot of work done, but the best work that we did was off the field. And and you hear people say it all the time. Actually, I was watching the new Florida football documentary last night, and the very first scene in the documentary, Tim Tebow says, it doesn't matter how hard, like how talented your team is, like you'll lose essentially if you're not close. And we weren't quite as close as we needed to be over the last season from a camaraderie and culture standpoint. And that was our major focus going into the summer, was to fix things and create an environment that was consistently enjoyable to be in, and focused on camaraderie and the group as a whole. And we did a really, really good job this summer, focusing on those things and improving those. And I think last weekend, going into an environment like we did, and coming out the other end qualified, it was a great first step into what we're trying to accomplish now next year.
Right.
Steven, I want to go back to a comment you made, your 2020 Olympic teammates, right? You mentioned Kayvon and Perry, among others, is really the only players on this roster to have Olympic experience. And, for those younger players, now that you guys have qualified for the Olympics, right, this is a whole nother level that they're about to experience. What do you tell the players who are about to experience the Olympics for the first time? Like, what can you impart to them so they understand like the gravity of like what is about to happen in a year?
I think the first thing I will tell them is to enjoy it. Take it in. Don't be so focused just on what we're trying to accomplish as a team. Really take in the experience, because although the 2021 was still quite weird with COVID and everything, it was an incredible experience getting to be a part of the Olympic Village, opening ceremonies, all those little things. And I think it's important that you are able to experience those emotions and let those emotions fill your body, so that when we do come around to game time, you're not so pent up, which is very easy to do. In terms of the gravity of it, and just how big it is, it's cliche to say that it's just another game or another tournament, because it's certainly not. It's the environment's different than our World Series. Everything is different about it. But I think that what we'll try and tell them and get them to realize is that there is going to be stress and pressure around it. similar to us, going up to Canada to qualify this weekend, but like to lean on each other and talk. I think it's really important to, if you're feeling fear or pressure, to talk about it, especially with guys who have been in those situations before, so that they can try and help you manage that, and to help them understand what to expect from an emotional standpoint. The closer we get, and as we continue this journey, the less that those feelings and stuff, when the moment comes, will affect us, because we'll have each other to lean on, and we did that this past weekend. So that's why I think this past weekend was a great test for us, and it was a really, it was a pretty hostile environment, and it was uncomfortable, and we focused on ourselves and focused on each other and gave our energy to the group, and we're going to have to do the same thing next summer. But enjoying the process, and enjoying, actually being at the Olympics, and being a part of it is also important, because it all comes together in the end, in the way I see it, the way I experienced it.
Yeah, I'll add one. I think a exciting wrinkle that we've seen over the last couple of weeks has just been the return of Ben Pinkelman. Right, exciting for him to come back on the field after some of the, I guess, the back issues that caused him to step away from the game for a little bit. But maybe just talk a little bit how important it was to the team success, or even just like the mentality to have a guy like Ben Pinkelman back on the squad.
Man, Ben went through a lot to get back to this point, and seeing somebody go through that kind of turmoil with their body and mind, and seeing them come out of the other side and want to help contribute to what we are doing is extremely motivating as a teammate, and as a good friend. I mean, that's just from the emotional side of it. I mean, from the actual playing side of it, Ben is Ben's one of the best players to ever pull on the USA Sevens jersey, and he brings a skill set that not too many players have, and one that complements the makeup of our team really well. And it was really important for us, because at the beginning of our 12-week training block, it was still somewhat unknown whether he was going to be able to withstand the amount of work we were going to get through. And our training camp was, probably the toughest 8 weeks I've had with the team in my 10-year career. The other block that was really tough was the one leading into the Olympics, but Ben was a part of all of it. He got through it and was healthy. And, as we saw him going through the day to day, it gave us more confidence that he was going to be able to, be there with us when the time came. And, he brings a level of experience that makes everybody a little bit more calm as well. And, obviously with more experience, it gives everybody in the squad more confidence. So getting Ben back in the mix was amazing for us. He was outstanding on the weekend. He, for like with a forward pack that we have in this weekend, which was, me and Joe, Ben Pinkelman, Aaron Cummings, Lance Williams, and Adam Channel, each one of us, has a totally different skill set and brings different things to the table. And Ben, Ben slid right into that mix and was able to offer his, his very unique skill set. And he was outstanding on the weekend. I'm super proud of him for, getting back to this point, because, there was a little while there where it didn't seem like it was going to be possible. And, he worked so hard over the last 2 years to get back. So, from an emotional standpoint, for me, it was huge having him there. It was, it was really, really special getting to run out with him again.
Listeners, real quick, if you're listening online on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, go ahead and comment there next to the video. We'll get your questions online. Or if you are here live on the Twitter Spaces app, you can go ahead and request in the bottom left of the app and ask your own question of anyone else up here. I know Mattina is still here, and we have Stephen Tomasin. So, Steve, listen, we do have one question from a listener, Ryan Kirby, who is not with us tonight, but he's always on these shows asking great questions. He says,
Yep.
with qualifying for Paris now locked in, what will Mike Friday do to keep the squad healthy and ready to go for the HSBC season? Also, let Steve know that he needs the mullet back for Paris, or we are writing.
Well, the mullet's here right now. It'll probably stay until
Nice.
Paris, unless something dramatic changes. To answer his question about what Mike plans to do with us, we do have a good rest period now, which is really nice. For the guys that played in the Olympics, this is the first break we've had since September of 2020 when we started training again before the Olympics. So, we've been going for basically 3 years straight, and that's really tough to do on the bodies. Towards the end of last season, a lot of our bodies were starting to break down quite a bit, especially the guys who were playing major minutes. And so this break that we're now on is going to be massive for all of us to get our bodies right and our minds away from rugby a little bit. And then, with the World Series changing from 10 tournaments to 8 tournaments, and the format that has been altered, which I'll explain simply because it does matter into how we're managed and whatnot. So because it's only a 12, it's a 12 team tournaments now. So we've gone down from 16 to 12, and the way that the season works is the first 7 tournaments of the year are like normal, where you're fighting for points, and the rankings will move after each tournament depending on the points that you acquire. And then the 8th tournament in Madrid is a winner take all. So the top 8 teams will go into a straight quarterfinal. I think it's straight quarterfinal, or it's 2 pools of 4, but the top 8 teams from the season will have a chance to win the World Series based off of winning that tournament. And then if you finish in the bottom 4, you're playing basically to figure out who gets relegated. Ooh. So, go this season, since it is the first of its kind, will be interesting to see how Mike plans to use us. But ultimately we need to be in the top 8 come the end of the season, and keeping ourselves as a core team is obviously super important. In a normal Olympic season, he could rest us how he wanted to, play us how he wanted to, and whether we finished, as long as we didn't finish last, we were going to be safe and able to focus on the Olympics. But there's some weird stuff with the changing of the series that I'm sure he will have to feel out as we go. But obviously we want to be peaking at the right time. So getting everybody healthy is priority number 1, and then as we starting to get through the season and getting to the back half, the last 5 or 6 tournaments, that's when we're really, really going to start to turn the jets on and start to push to get that form. Because once the season ends in June, it's essentially 6 weeks before the Olympics start. So there's not a big break. We're not going to probably have a major camp like we did before. But yeah, it'll be interesting. So to answer Kirby's question, I don't totally know exactly how it's going to go, and to be honest, I don't know if Mike totally knows how it's going to go, because it is like it is a changing of the entire format in the way the 7 series has always been. So it'll be new for all of us.
Right.
Well, yeah, so long as you just bring the mullet back, I think we'll all be pleased about that. Or an entirely new hairstyle that we haven't seen yet.
It never left. It's back right now.
It's small though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think, I don't know if Kirby's thinking about me or he's thinking about Joe, because Joe Schroeder was the one at the last Olympics that had the incredible mullet.
That's right.
My hair was I had really long, just all my hair was long, so I had it braided for the Olympics. But I'm just the mullet is with me right now, and we'll see if it stays, but I plan for it to stay.
So maybe don't braid your hair for the Olympics this time. Let's go with
Yeah.
cornrows or something.
Yeah, there we go.
Steven, I want to go back to a comment you made earlier, just about like how intense or demanding the most recent training block was, and similar to maybe the training block before the last Olympics, but without really giving away any like trade secrets or the secret sauce. But help us paint a picture, for the audience, just of the listeners, of how mentally and or physically demanding the training is. Is it close to guys like passing out, or guys throwing up? Like, because I don't think we have any idea just like how intense and how hard it must be to train. So anything you can tell us there.
Yeah, I think the general rugby public doesn't quite understand how grueling sevens training is. And I mean, this last block was it was really, really tough. So, for instance, the first day we got back, because we had 4 weeks off after the end of the season, but it wasn't off. We were still on remote programming, and essentially the coaches told us that when the day we come back to training, we're going to be doing a Bronco fitness test in the morning, which a lot of the rugby world knows what one of those are, and then we were going to do our other hardest fitness test, which is the RSD in the afternoon. So we double fitness tested the first day we got back. And the boys crushed that, which was awesome. A lot of PRs across the board. And then our normal days, we were training Monday, Wednesday. Well, we were training 5 days a week, but we were training hard Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And it was two field sessions on those days, and a gym session as well on two of them. So 2 of the 3 days we're doing 3 sessions. And then in both the sessions, we were doing fitness combined with rugby. So we do a block of fitness, and then do some drills, back to fitness, more drills, and then in the afternoon we'd finish the afternoon with a pretty heavy block of conditioning. And we do this one fitness one conditioning block called coat hangers, and it's a running one, but you're essentially running 300 meters with turns in about 50 seconds. And then you get a 1-to-1 break, and we go back and forth between doing single reps and double reps. And that there was a big focus on pushing the group mentally and physically, obviously physically, but once you get to a certain point, it starts to become more mental than physical. And we wanted to make sure that we were the fittest team in the tournament last weekend. And because when you're in sevens, it's such a physically demanding game from a cardio standpoint, that if you're not in the fitness levels that you need to be, it's so easy to make the wrong decisions because things are happening so fast. So if you can take care of the fitness part of it, and put yourself in a place where you can play long minutes of the game, and not be thinking about how tired you are, everything gets easier. And so yeah, I mean, they pushed us hard. And we got a lot closer through that process. It's not rocket science when you push a group of people hard physically. They end up relying on each other more. And they definitely did that with us. And we were probably, I'm taking a bit of a guess here, but we were probably covering close to 25 to 30,000 meters a week.
Wow.
And a lot of that at high speed. And yeah, we pushed the limits pretty far this camp, and it worked. Yeah, it worked from a physical standpoint. We were in a great place last weekend physically, and we were overtrained quite a bit in terms of like training above what the playing levels were going to be. So the games last weekend felt pretty easy compared to what we were doing.
Now you just mentioned all that running. Now you've been with USA Sevens for 10 years. About that's a long time, Steve. I mean, it sounds like you've ran from East Coast to West Coast about 3 times.
Yeah, I would be curious. That would be a really interesting stat. I wonder how many meters I've ran in my career. But yeah, I mean, 10 years is a long time. Going into my 11th season now. Man, it's flown by.
Yeah.
It's the environment that we're in is such a grindy environment when it's a full-time sevens training program. And I'm blessed to I had a bit of injury trouble early in my career when I was 19 and 20, and I've
Mm-hmm.
been relatively healthy over the last 7 or 8 years. And yeah, I mean the fitness levels of sevens is something else. And Mattina was with us, and he's still on. I think he's still on here. Maybe he bounced
Right, he
off,
bounced
but
out. Yeah.
he was with us for a while, and so he understands it as well. But yeah, I mean, I still love this game so much. It's the game of rugby has given me my entire life. And wearing the USA jersey and playing with this sevens team is it's my favorite thing to do. And I still love it, probably more than I ever have. So I'm looking forward to next summer, and hopefully I can strap it up for a few more after that. And but yeah, I mean, it's being a part of a full-time environment like this is it's really cool. It's really, really cool.
Well, and you're about to fly out to Rugby Town Sevens,
Yeah.
so you're about to see yourself, 15 years ago, 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? You're about to see
Yeah,
these
well,
players who are hopefully doing the same venture.
yeah, well, it's funny. I got like a memory that popped up on Facebook because I played with the under 23 team
Yeah.
Rugby Town in 2013, and we won the tournament. And that kind of catapulted that group into the sevens program. And the likes of that team was Madison Hughes,
Oh yeah.
Ryan Mattias, Pat Blair, who was with us for a while. So you see the careers that some of those guys have had. And the Rugby Town has become such a great tournament over the years. It's so much more competitive now than it
Mm-hmm.
was when I played in it. And I'm really excited to get out there and see it for the first time live since I played in it. I haven't been out there to watch it in the 10 years. And we got a lot of our boys playing in it. Some great international talent playing in it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a bit of a USA Sevens reunion. There's a lot of the boys out there, so I knew if I stayed in San Diego, I was going to have major FOMO. So I booked a ticket. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch it. It's a great tournament, and it's going to be an awesome time.
Well, Fitzy, I'm sorry to do this right now, but I have to mention. So playing rugby in Atlanta years ago. Here we go. I played a little sevens. All right. I asked Mike Friday if I can join the team, but apparently I'm a little overweight and slow. But I
Hey, I'm
played in
telling you, a couple weeks with us, we could do something about that.
There you go, Bill.
Well, my wife has been saying, "Can you join the sevens program?" No. I mean, it's. I love where sevens has come because it's like mid '90s, late '90s when I was I'm gonna in quotes my prime, playing for Atlanta Rugby. And the Atlanta team's still on the market. They're still doing the national sevens and all that stuff. But I was on like the 225 and older over the side, so I wasn't beating anybody down or by speed, maybe by physical strength. But I mean, it's come a long way. I mean, like I said, 10 years for you earlier. I mean, just seeing where the sevens program's grown. You were there for the heyday. I don't know, I say the heyday. The days of Danny Barrett, Perry Baker's still around, Carl Niles, yourself, Ben's around, that kind of stuff, and all the young guys. So I know we only got you for another minute or two, but just briefly, if you can, talk about some of these young guys on the sevens program right now, and should I be excited about the future of this program?
Well, to answer that question first, yeah, you should be extremely excited about the
Good.
future of this program. So I guess I'll go through a couple of them specifically.
Yeah.
We have Lucas LeCamp, who's
Mm-hmm.
been with us for a couple years now. I'm pretty sure he's still only 21 years old. A great talent with a lot of potential. And he's been massive for us. And then the likes of someone like Aaron Cummings, who went from Davenport to the Chicago Lions, won the club national championship there with them, and then came to us and was pretty raw when he got to us, and has molded himself into a extremely efficient and fit sevens player that is great in the air, controls the line out really well. That last group was such an interesting group that we had, because a lot of those guys played rugby from a younger age, and this team, a lot of the guys started playing a little bit later, and their dedication to improving their skills and their craft in whichever way that may be has been really impressive. And hopefully us as leaders and older experienced guys of the group has done a good job showing them what's expected and what it looks like, but they've done an incredible job themselves. We got a guy named Peter V who played in Paris and London with us, and got hurt a little bit later in camp when he was playing in the PR7s, but a very raw talent in himself that is really committed to our program. And like when we put this team together, or started to put this team together after the Olympics, that was a young, inexperienced team. Well, now this team is not young and inexperienced. And we got a lot of guys over 10, 15 caps, which is, if you've played that much on the World Series, you know what's going on. And now, they are, I think how disappointing we were in the second half of last season lit a fire under a lot of guys to make sure that never happened again, because to be totally honest, it was quite embarrassing. We expected a lot more out of ourselves, especially like I was saying, starting the season well. And it's a pretty dark place when you're finishing 10th on the World Series, which is not what we expect of ourselves. And although it was an incredibly competitive World Series, we should have been much higher in the ranks. And so, everyone came into this summer ready to go and ready to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I think that attitude and that mindset is going to be a lot of what drives us over the next these next 12 months and beyond, with these young guys and even us experienced guys, because the World Series is so competitive now that you really do have to play your best game every time you step on the field. There is no easy games anymore, especially now with it being 12 teams. So every game is going to be a tough one. And, our younger guys have really stepped up. And another name that a couple names that I do want to touch on is Naima Fualao, who, was our starting scrum half in this tournament this past weekend, and has been with the program for a while now. He's dedicated himself in a really positive way, and he was fantastic for us last weekend. He's still only, I think, 25 or 24, so that's pretty young. And Talapusi is another one who has been with the program for a little bit now and is growing into his own. And the future of this program is really bright. It's different than the old squad, and that's a good thing. This team is it's different in every way. When you have that many guys leave a program and new ones come in, things change and the whole culture of the team changes. And we're in a really, really good place right now. And we showed that last weekend with how we were able to problem solve and stay in a game in the final that we controlled for the most part, but a couple slips and that could have gotten away from us if we let it, being in such a hostile environment like we were in Canada, rugby's backyard.
Steven, if you've got, I know we're a little past.
No, you're okay.
A lot of time. I got one more question, just because I want to hit on something you said. You talked about how you still got a love for the game. You still enjoy playing it. The sevens program is even, it's your life essentially. And I just want to go back and kind of revisit. You were a pretty good high school football player with an opportunity to continue on and potentially play college football. Have you ever thought how differently your life would have ended up had you pursued college football and not picked up this oval rugby ball?
Yeah, I do think about that quite often, actually. I don't know what I would be doing now. Because I didn't get any, big scholarships out of high school. I got designated walk-on spot at USC. But yeah, it's such a weird thing to think about for me because I have no idea what would have happened. And um, yeah, my cousin, I come from a big rugby playing family. So my cousin in high school he's like, come on, Steve, like just come play one weekend with us my senior year of high school. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'll do it. And that one weekend changed my whole life. I fell in love with the game immediately. And I knew pretty soon after that I wasn't going to go to college and play football. I was committed to, uh, playing college rugby and then finding my way to the national team. It all happened a lot faster than I expected, but I knew pretty soon after I started playing rugby that was what I was going to do. But I have no idea. Like I said, I mean, rugby has given me, everything I have in my life, and it's such a special game outside of the actual game, the game of rugby itself in terms of the community and, just the values and the culture and the ability to travel internationally. I mean, it's a beautiful game, and I don't know what I would have done. I don't even, I've never worked a job in my entire life, so I don't know what I would have done.
Well, you might have to get one soon. I mean, the Olympics are next year. Have you thought
Yeah,
much about after that?
yeah. I'm gonna keep playing.
Good.
You know, I would love to continue my stretch with the sevens program. As long as my body and I continue to play at a high level, that's what I would like to do. Obviously the 2028 Olympics being LA is a pretty enticing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
that's pretty enticing for an American rugby player,
Oh
especially
yeah.
somebody who's put a lot into this program. And I love this program. Obviously, I haven't played 15s in 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time, and I would like to possibly look down that avenue a little bit, but I'm going to continue to play. Where and for how long it's still unknown, but
Well,
in my heart, I think I want to stay with the sevens team, but we'll see.
that's good to hear because in 3 years I'm putting together a team. You might have to put a little weight on, but
I'm only 190 pounds. How much do you need me to put on?
220. So I need another 30 pounds out of
Okay.
you.
Okay, I might have to wear like a vest underneath my jersey, a weighted vest or something like that.
Whatever it takes. It wouldn't be the first time we cheated in one of these tournaments. Hey, Steve, man, Steve Tomasin, it's been awesome again having you back on the show. The first time was great. This is even better. Thanks so much for your time, and we congratulate you on the team to make it to the Olympics.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for having me back on again. I look forward to the next time we get to do it.
Well, hopefully it's after a gold medal performance, and perhaps
Yeah.
before that too.
Yep, that sounds good. Well, you guys have a great one, and I'll tune in and check you guys out here soon.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Love you, buddy. We'll talk later.
Bye.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, listeners. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another great night. Chris Mattina from Chicago Hounds, US Eagle number 564, fresh off his first caps for the USA 15 side, and also Stephen Tomasin just joined us to talk about making it to the Olympics this past year, or just recently, actually, this past year in the HSBC. All of his experiences, second time on the show, a great time. Fitzy, I don't know if we can recap that, man. That was a great hour. What do you think, man?
Yeah, that was great. I mean, right back into it after a couple of weeks off. We hit on everything. Great conversations. You brought up that you played rugby. I mean, it's like we didn't skip a beat.
Every time that's what the show's about, man. It's me reliving my past. Yeah, thanks, Fitzy, man. I'm glad to have you back. A couple weeks ago it was a little rough on myself, but we still had a good show. But good to have you back. And Fitzy, listeners still listening in, or nobody. Tuning in next week. We have some other guests lined up and some new topics and stuff like that. So thank everybody again for tuning in. And have a great night. Have a great weekend. And we will chat again soon. Good night, everybody.